Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I'm just going to pin my message here. So, hi, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm a therapist that specializes in addiction and recovery, trauma, and mental health. This is my first episode, actually, on YouTube. So, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here today. I know it's a really, really big deal for me. But either way, even if you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, I really appreciate all of you being here today. Yeah, my goal pretty much with this channel is really, I just really want to make mental health and neuroscience much easier to be understood. I think one of the main things that I've noticed throughout my career is there's so many gaps sometimes in recovery, in trauma, and understanding ourselves, understanding, the human body, the mind, just really, really having that understanding. So I really, really want to make everything just super practical and just really, really easy to understand. So thanks for joining me. And yeah, I think the main thing is that therapy isn't just about giving, like, therapy is not just about talking and that person centered. It's really about like really rewiring your neural pathways. So yeah. So while people are joining, I'm just going to give it some time. I just joined in, so I want to give some time for everyone to join. And I'd love to hear like where you're from, where you're watching from, what are some of your mental health challenges that you've experienced. Yeah, and if you're in recovery, how has that been for you? How is recovery? What are some challenges? What are some myths about addiction or recovery that you've gone through or you've noticed yourself? I think it's really amazing to create a community where we can really, really come together and just learn from one another as well. Experiences, not just from the professionals. Yeah, and a little bit about myself. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about myself, which I don't really enjoy, to be honest. But let's do it. Let's talk a little bit about myself and who I am and my experience throughout and kind of what I do bring. So, as I mentioned, my name is Alex, and this is Rewire with Alex. I'm going to be putting out a weekly show or even 2 episodes. I haven't quite decided, but it's going to be very, very consistent, of course. And I'll write it on my TikToks, Instagram. Please follow me to see kind of what days and what times that's going to be. But I really appreciate your questions as well. So give them all to me. But yeah, so throughout my career, I specialized in addictions, trauma, and of course, addiction doesn't come first. And yeah, throughout my career, I was able to really evolve, I guess, a director in my fields, and especially that, like one of the main things that I do and a lot of people don't know this about me is that I write a lot of programs for treatment centers. So for treatment centers, I will go in and I'll rewrite a whole entire program coming from a biopsychosocial lens. So that really does give me the opportunity to just share my knowledge, just share the programs that I've written, what's changed, what's evolved in the programs, how does AA come into it, NACA, Smart Recovery, Dharma, just like everything, because recovery is not just a one-way street, right? It's very much a whole entire it's a whole full circle, right? And that's why we have like the medicine wheel and we have everything, the holistic wheel, just really, really the whole circle of recovery. And the main thing that I really love to talk about is really, really understanding a biopsychosocial lens to look at not only recovery and addiction, but recovery in general to really evolve and be able to understand yourself, to be able to, live the life that you're wanting to. So yeah, I think this can be very exciting, and I'm extremely excited and looking forward to share my knowledge and to really provide everyone all the tools and skills and resources that I can to share my expertise. This is it. This is what I have. If you ask me anything else, maybe I won't know everything, but this is one area that I can most definitely be confident in and really talk about it. So while people are joining, I'm just going to get a few minutes because I just logged in. It's only been 4 minutes. I technically should not be here until 8 o'clock, so it is early. So I will be like kind of repeating myself a little bit throughout this. But yeah, just give it a few minutes for everyone to join and we'll go from there. I am really looking forward to your questions. So please, if you have any questions, please go for them. Just looking at a few emails. So tonight, as I mentioned, I just really simply wanted to get to know each other, really introduce myself, and really just talk about neuroplasticity, addiction, anxiety, and really understand. Yeah, so basically my main goal is to really, really create an opportunity for mental health and neuroscience um, to be simplified. That is absolutely my main goal, is everyone to normalize. I personally think that vulnerability is one of the most difficult things in the world. To be vulnerable, to be honest, to really share our thoughts and our feelings. It's not, it's a judgmental world out there. Yes, absolutely. But that's where inner consent also comes into play, to really give our inner consent to ourselves, to live the best life that we can. And another reason why I feel like this channel is super, super important is that it's so interesting how we update our phone and we update even our TV, and anything gets updated with a new software, and it takes out some glitches and things that needs to be updated. And with that being said, I always find it really interesting how many individuals, or there's some individuals out there in the world that don't really consider the mind being like an operating system that does need to be updated. And truthfully, just like anything else, our brain does need to be updated, and it does have the opportunity to create new neuroplasticity and to create new neural pathways and to really live the life that we wanted to. Because one of the main things that a lot of people don't understand about the brain is that the brain is just meant to survive, and survival is not actually living. Survival is surviving. So there's a huge difference between surviving and also living. So therefore, when we are surviving and we're not actually living through our potential and our full potential, it's very, very normal. The brain's not meant to make you live. The brain's meant to help you survive and live comfortably. So therefore, if any trauma or anything has occurred within the past, and trauma, of course, and I'll talk more about this in my channel, is very much, there's small little t's to trauma, super, super tiny, and then there's huge, big traumas as well. And anything in between or anything from there can really alter the way we perceive, the way we connect to a certain situation, the way we respond to a situation as well. So everything is pretty much conditioned, downloaded, how we're responding from very, very early on. And most of the main things are really formed in childhood. And a lot of these responses are also based on our core beliefs. And most of our core beliefs are formed in our childhood. And the only downfall about that, and what's interesting, is the frontal lobe is not yet developed. So a lot of times the way our narrative, the way we perceive things, the way we respond to them, the things that we believe to them, is actually maybe not quite the reality and the perception towards what's actually happening. So with that being said, it gives us an opportunity to look within our brain to see how things were installed in there, how things are, we're responding? Is this the best that, that is beneficial to us in a long-term form? Because again, the brain is just meant for that short term, right? That short-term survival, comfortable. It's not meant for that long-term choices at times. So depending on how things were, of course, formed within the brain. But yeah, a few things I also want to discuss, of course, is why does addiction actually change the brain? So I'm really curious if anyone has any thoughts on addiction, what happens within our brain in addiction, how that affects us. So please let me know your thoughts on this as well. I would really love to hear it. But basically today, I really just wanted to introduce myself a little bit more. As I mentioned, my name is Alex, and this is Rewire with Alex. The main thing that I'm going to be discussing is mental health, addiction, trauma, and of course, anything in between, right? There's lifestyle, there's values, there's different triggers. Yeah, so I am here to answer any questions, to relate, to come together, to create a community where we can all, recover. And not only that, but just really live the best that we can within our life and really create an opportunity for all of us. So, yeah, I think that is my main goal that I have for this. And I really want to normalize a lot of issues. Like I want to eliminate the shame and the guilt that people have towards addiction, towards trauma, towards going to seek a therapist, to seek, their support that they need. I know there's a lot of individuals out there that, it's hard. It's very overwhelming when you're trying to seek support. And even when you go on different sites, which they're amazing, and I'm on those as well, you're searching a therapist. Oh, it's so hard. It's so overwhelming. Who do I go to? Who do I pick? How do I know I'm picking the right therapist? I just really want to create an opportunity to leave a door open for all these questions that anyone has related to therapy, related to their mental health and what's going to work best for them. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I will have so many more topics and videos that I'll be posting, but I just really, really wanted to introduce myself today and introduce a little bit of the things that I'm interested in. Yeah, and the things that we'll be talking about. So thank you so much, and I will see you all soon. I'll give a little break and we'll come back. We'll just pause. Oh, I just got a little message here. Let's see. What is one thing everyone should know about mental health? That's a good question. Thank you for that. I think one of the biggest things is that healing usually isn't about finding one perfect solution. It's about consistently doing many small things that support your brain and nervous system over time. Progress often comes from repetition rather than dramatic breakthroughs. So that's something, that I think everyone should know about mental health. Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Just give it a little bit more. A few more questions that'll come in here. So let's see. I also have Instagram and things. So I have a few outlets here, everyone. But yeah, let's give it a minute. Okay, see another question. Thank you, Amelia. Can the brain actually heal after addiction? This is a good one. So anyone who didn't hear the question was, can the brain actually heal after addiction? Great question. And the answer to that, Amelia, is yes, absolutely it can. Absolutely. One of the most important things we know from like a neuroscience perspective is that the brain can change throughout the life. Isn't that amazing? Recovery doesn't happen overnight, and we wish it did, but it doesn't. It doesn't happen overnight. But with time and healthy habits, therapy, meaningful relationship, meaningful connection, consistency, the brain can form new pathways. That's 100% certain. And that's called neuroplasticity. So, absolutely, the brain can heal after addiction. 100%. Yeah. Thank you for that. Let's wait for another question to come in, everyone. Thank you for that again. Oh, here's another question that we have. Is anxiety all in my head? That's a good one. Is anxiety all in my head? One thing I want to touch on that is that the brain and the body, they're very much connected. So they're not two different things. So if we're experiencing anxiety, anxiety begins in the brain. Yes. But it experiences throughout the body. So your heart races, your muscles tighten, your breathing changes, your stomach may become upset, or the nervous system is preparing to deal with a perceived threat. So that's also something very much to know. So yes, does it begin in the brain? Absolutely, but it continues, right? So the brain and the body are very, very much connected. So when we have anxiety, what happens is that our heart is racing super a lot. That's one of the things that we can feel. Our heart is racing, our breathing might get more shallow or rapid, depending on the situation in hand. Our stomach might also. And then also, what we're really, really experiencing as well, and what happens is that when we have anxiety, basically what we're talking about is that the amygdala is activated. When the amygdala activates, it goes in, your brain goes into a survival mode and it says, like, oh no, there's a danger here. So the amygdala, and I'll talk more in my channel of like what the amygdala is, how it supports, how this interacts, and what's the purpose of it. But basically, when that activates, and that activates when we do have anxiety, the amygdala will activate. And for when that happens, the blood flow that goes to our frontal lobe usually, and our frontal lobe is our thinking, making choices, all that. The blood flow doesn't go to our frontal lobe. So the blood will go to the back, to our survival brain, meaning that when we have anxiety, yes, it does feel like it's in our mind, but it's very much all over our body. So the first thing that we need to do before we can reach the cognitive side to really make decisions, to think about what we can do, what is the best option or anything, we need to regulate the nervous system. Therefore, if we're regulating the nervous system, then we can also support the mind afterwards. More like the cognitive side to think about it. But yeah, thanks for the question. I hope that supports a little bit. And if you have any more questions related to like anxiety and how that affects the brain and all that, just let me know. And I'm more than happy to support with that. Okay. And thank you for that again. What is one thing people misunderstand about depression? Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah, what is one thing people misunderstand about depression? Depression isn't simply feeling sad. I think that's one of the misconceptions is that depression is about feeling sad. But in reality, depression is not necessarily about feeling sad. It can affect your sleep, it can affect your appetite, your concentration, your motivation, your memory, and even physical energy. So it's a whole body condition. So simply not just like an emotion. So as much as like, yes, depression is known for sadness, it also has other effects within the mind and the body and not strictly just being sad. I think that's one of the most misconceptions about depression is that someone is sad because when you look at it from a biopsychosocial lens, we can really see that it is it alters our brain chemistry, our hormones, like everything comes into play with it. So it's not just a person being sad and not being motivated. There's so much more chemically and hormonally and everything that's going on with that person than just them being sad. So I think that's something that's like the misconception about depression. When I do have individuals that come to my clinic, and I have teenagers with their parents, be like, yeah, they're just so sad and they're like depressed. But there's so much more to that. And especially when someone's going through puberty or changing or life changes, or there's so many different reasons why chemical imbalance and hormone imbalance and other things alter a person's mind and body. So I feel like that's one of the main misconceptions about depression, that it's mostly just tied to this emotional sadness, when in reality, there's so much more about that. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. And if you have anything more you'd like me to add or any more questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah. Oh, here's another question. I see I got, what exactly is trauma? Hmm, that's a good one. Does anybody have any answers to what trauma is or anything they would like to say about that before I answer? Mm. Yeah, so the question was, what exactly is trauma? Yeah, so what comes to my mind is trauma isn't only like what happened, right? It's not just what happened. This is why two individuals can have a traumatic experience and come out completely with two different narratives. So, trauma isn't only about what happened, it's how the experience affected your nervous system. So, two people can experience the same event, but respond differently, completely differently, depending on many factors, including previous experiences and available support, and so many other things, what we've dealt with in the past, what we believe, what has been normalized, what hasn't, um, what what intentions. There's so many different things how people perceive something, and this is why everyone, depending on where they're at in their mind as well, like, are you like, I always say the brain has three different parts: our emotional side, our wise mind, our intellectual mind as well. So it really, really does matter where exactly we're at in our mind, what's going on. And again, looking at it from a biopsychosocial lens. And that's something that you'll hear a lot from me during this channel and just talking about it. And I think I'm going to create some episode on what is biopsychosocial, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Oh, wow, these questions are, like, popping in, you guys. I did not see that. Okay. Um, can therapy actually change the brain? Ooh, yes. Research suggests therapy can be associated with changes in how the brain network functions. Absolutely. Over time, as people practice new ways of thinking, right? New ways of thinking basically is a new perspective, a new way of looking at it, becoming curious, regulating those emotions as well, and how we're responding to stress. Those repetitive experiences can really straighten different and new neural pathways. So, absolutely. And this is the difference between like a psychiatrist, a counselor, a psychologist. So we all have different roles, and we all do different things. And I can make a whole episode on that as well, which one, each one, what does, and what's the purpose of it, and how do we all support. Um, yeah, I hope that's kind of gives you a little bit of an answer to your question, but absolutely, therapy is fantastic, and there's different types of therapy, right? And we'll get into that as well, like what types of therapy they are, which therapy is beneficial for what issue, yeah. And we'll kind of discuss it. There's so many different types of therapists, therapy modalities, and what you could do, and CBT and DBT and ACT, and family and existential analysis, elder, and so many different types of therapy. And it's really interesting. I'm not sure if you've gone to therapy or not, but if you have, it's really amazing to kind of ask your therapist, like, what kind of therapy technique are we working on, and what skill sets, and what modality are you using? Because sometimes you can, get some extra work, or you can find some resources, or if you ever change therapists or get support anywhere else, you kind of have an idea of what that therapist was working on you with, and that will really support your growth as well, and any changes that you have with throughout your life, depending on therapist or anything. And it's good for you to know, right? Like, it's good to you to know, like, oh, this is what I'm learning, or this is a thing. It's not just like my therapist talking. So I think that's a great opportunity. Okay. So I've been here for quite, like, almost half an hour. I'm gonna do two more questions. I do see there's a few of them here, but I'm gonna do two more, and then I'm gonna come back. I'll let you all know when I'll be back and when the next episode will be, and we'll go from there. But I really appreciate these questions, so thank you all so much for them. What do I see here? There's so many great questions here that I've received, but let's pick two. Why are healthy habits so hard to maintain? Sarah, thank you for that question. I really appreciate that question. I think that's a really good one. Anyone who's joining us just right now, my name's Alex, and this is Rewire with Alex. And the question today is, why are healthy habits so hard to maintain? Great question. I think one of the main things why healthy habits are, sometimes difficult to maintain, it's because, our brain prefers efficiency, right? Habits become automatic over time. Building new habit means repeating a new behavior until it becomes more familiar to the brain. And the brain is comfortable. The brain is meant to survive and to live comfortably. So any changes, evolution, growing pains, it's very difficult for the brain, and it will respond, and it will let you know that it's unhappy. Although that's how we get that dopamine. So and of course I'm not getting into dopamine just being the happy drug, and not just the drug, the happy chemical, not just the happy chemical, and I'll get more into that one. But yes, that's why habits are a little bit hard to maintain. It's just, again, the brain prefers efficiency, it prefers what it knows. So anything that is new, it can be a little bit difficult, especially if we're replacing something that gave us so much dopamine, really altered and give us that really altered our reward system. It can affect it. Okay. One more question. Let's see. Okay, I think this is a good one. What is one thing everyone can do today for better mental health? That's a great question. So what is one thing everyone can do today to, evolve their mental health? I think, again, looking at it from a biopsychosocial lens, getting enough sleep, moving your body, spend time with supportive people, being kind to yourself. Those simple things sound so basic, and I know, but over time they can be really meaningful. And I think the most important thing that we can do for our mental health is really to give our inner consent, and to remember that we're human. And some days are going to be hard. Some days we're going to struggle. Other days are going to be easier. Although it's super, super important to connect. And I think one thing that we can do for our mental health is being really self-aware. Self-aware within ourselves, self-aware within the community, just being self-aware, and giving us some time to really look within our thought process and our response process as well. Like, what's the reason we responded that way? What's the reason I felt this? Where did this come from? So I think one of the things is always to be open and curious within yourself. And that's the main thing that we have control over, is within ourselves. Okay. So thank you so much for spending part of your evening with me. Thank you all for your questions today. This was my very first episode here, Rewire with Alex. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to subscribe, and please like this channel. Yeah. And please also leave your comments below to the video, anything that you'd love to learn more about, or you'd like me to teach or talk about, or you have any questions. I'm always here to support, and I've dedicated my life to supporting people and helping. And I feel so grateful to be able to journey across my clients every single day and them opening the door to me to be able to do so. So thank you all so much for having me. And one thing I'm going to say is remember, healing is possible, and understanding your brain is one step toward understanding yourself. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time. And thank you again. And this was Rewire with Alex. Bye for now.